Welcome to the 5-Week Linguist Show. If you want to learn a language or you teach a language, you've come to the right place. Join Janina each week for tips, resources, and advice for making engaging language learning happen anytime, anywhere.
Welcome to the 5-Week Linguist Show. This week I wanted to talk about how to use music for learning and teaching languages. From a very practical standpoint, I don't rely heavily on music for learning and teaching languages for everyday communication. With that said, there is a wealth of ways that we can use languages in really improving our cultural and linguistic skills. The first one is culture. Now, when we talk about culture, we talk about the way people live, right? It's impossible to learn a language without learning the culture. The two are inextricably linked. I love the way Actful talks about culture. They've broken it down into the 3 Ps. The products, the practices, and the perspectives of the people who speak the target language culture. Music is an amazing insight into that culture. It's going to teach us all of those 3 Ps. It's going to teach us, it's a product, first of all, the music of a target language culture. It's also going to teach us about the practices of the culture. So, for example, think about music throughout history. You can learn so much about culture throughout looking at the music, right? There's music that's played on certain holidays. There's music that's played for birthdays, for example. If you study Spanish, surely, you've heard about, in Mexico, Las Mañanitas, being a traditional birthday song, for example, or music that's played during weddings in other cultures, or music that's played at a Greek wedding, let's say, right? It really teaches us so much about those practices, right? About what goes on every day. And also, when you really dig deep into culture, you'll learn a lot about their perspectives as well. And you're going to hear the songs that they might play, in military parades, for example. I mean, the possibilities are infinite. Listening and learning the music of your target language is going to help you immensely in understanding the products, the practices, and the perspectives of the people who speak that language. And some really practical ways to do it. So I've long been a fan of playlists, and I think that Spotify I absolutely love it. I started using Spotify Premium some time ago. And I'm going to share a couple of my playlists. But if you think about the infinite number of playlists that you could have that could really organize this study of culture and be nice to listen to as well, are really just astounding. Some of my French playlists, for example, I have iconic French, which is things like Edith Piaf. I have French pop music. You might have singers from Mexico, singers from Taiwan, different artists that are popular right now in your target language culture or country. Singers that were popular in your target language country in the 50s. Music about something that's happening in a certain period of time. music about, sort of fill in the blank. It's an amazing window into cultures. What's popular? What are people listening to? What's the music about? And that brings me to the second way to use music is to study the lyrics. So as I feel really strongly that, there's usually very little practical language that can come right out of a song. There's some, but not always. The lyrics can be really dense. They can be really, you have to look really deeply to extract the meaning. With that said, it's a great way to study vocabulary. And it's a fabulous way to study verb tenses. So one of the first ways studying vocabulary, I've long been a fan of music lyrics. I think it's interesting to see different meanings of words. It's interesting to dig deep into a set of lyrics. Check out lyrics trading. It's a great activity that you could do in your classes, or that there's an app you can do on your own. So essentially karaoke, right? Learning these lyrics. And I also think linguistically, it's a fantastic way to learn sounds, to learn pronunciation, to understand patterns in the language, and to dig deep into vocabulary. One way that I've used it as a teacher are for cloze activities. So cloze activities are essentially problem solving, right? You're filling in blanks with certain words. So I've used this to teach the past tense in Spanish, where maybe I'll take a song that has a lot of past tense, so Shakira, Antología, or Gloria Estefan, Ayer, and you would just block out the verbs. Another one I've used, and the students fill them in. So it's a great way to learn those verb patterns, verb conjugations, which are definitely not easy, but critical and essential, mastering verbs. And to do so, not only do you need a lot of communicative practice, you need some sort of just really studying those patterns, really having those patterns repeated. Using it to do something like learning the present progressive. Ay Mama by Cheyenne. That's another example. And there's examples in every target language, of course. And an amazing resource we have, our Ultimate Language Learning Lab, which is the World Wide Web. There's lyrics available that you can easily print out, block out the verbs, and give the cultural background as an introduction, listen to the song, talk about the verbs that are missing, fill in the blanks, and then show the answers. It's a great way. And listen to the song again. It's a great way to learn verbs. So digging deep into lyrics is a great way to learn language, and listening to music and singing music is a great way to understand sounds and pronunciation. And the last way that I want to talk about music is language immersion. So as I've shared, I've been a language immersion teacher. I was director of a language immersion school. And essentially, at the end of the day, language immersion, we are teaching people a language essentially through content. So doing two things at the same time. So you might be teaching math in a target language or science in a target language. And we're using all of these tools that we have of comprehensible input, right? Making everything comprehensible and understandable to deliver that language and culture or content at the same time. And you can do language immersion on your own. Again, our Ultimate Language Learning Lab. I would go on YouTube. I love the dance tutorials on YouTube. You can learn traditional dances in your target language culture. You can listen to concerts, watch concerts on YouTube, watch music videos, listen to music. There is a huge wealth of resources there for free available on YouTube to immerse yourself in target language culture. Whether you want to actually learn something, the sort of traditional, the educational meaning of language immersion, learn something else. So for example, learning how to do a traditional dance in your target language culture, or you just want to see the artists and immerse yourself in language in that way. Another way that I really like to use music in the target language culture is for immersion in the sense of, sort of cultural immersion, not necessarily digging deep into the lyrics or any of those really practical bits that we just talked about. Having it on in the background, hearing the music, hearing the sounds, really immersing ourselves in that culture in a really pleasurable way is a really nice way. Maybe while you're sitting down and you're doing some of your exercises, or, as a teacher in your classroom, using those playlists to expose music, expose culture, expose the target language culture through the products, the people, and the perspectives through that music. I'm going to put a couple of resources here for you to check out some ways to use music, as well as playlists, and getting started in another language, playlists in a kind of non-traditional sense, some language learning playlists, in addition to the Spotify playlists I talked about. So until next time.
Thank you for listening to the 5-Week Linguist Show with Janina Klimas. Join us each week here and visit us at reallifelanguage.com/reallifelanguageblog for more resources for learning and teaching languages.